Today, we are finally hearing from Oscar and Grammy winner Jamie Foxx after his mysterious health scare, saying he has been to hell and back.
When it came to the other defense attorneys speaking, Brian Steele was just very urging of the judge to please consider that Sean Combs had untreated trauma throughout his life. Brian Steele urged the judge to consider that Sean Combs had untreated trauma in his life, and that there have been times in Sean Combs' life, especially when he had in his system, that there were times where he had flatlined.
So Jamie Foxx is reportedly talking openly now about what Sean Diddy Combs allegedly tried to do to him. And the uncomfortable part is pretty obvious. Diddy cannot really talk back. He is locked up in federal prison right now, serving a 50-month sentence with no real way to defend himself in public, no way to control the story, and no way to jump online at midnight and deny everything. That is the imbalance people are noticing. One man can speak freely. The other is sitting in a cell, stuck with whatever gets said about him. But before anybody rushes to pick a side, fans have already started dragging something else back into the conversation. Fox was at those parties. The same parties he now seems to be distancing himself from. The same rooms, the same nights, the same world he appears to have known from the inside. And now that Fox is reportedly speaking while Diddy is stuck in silence, the hypocrisy argument is moving faster than almost anything Fox could say about him.
So maybe the judge is going to give him more than time served.
But we should say that the maximum he could get is 20 years.
And that's what I want to get into for a minute. Because this is some racist you-know-what, this Mann Act. The Mann Act.
The reason this hits so hard is because Fox's medical situation was not some random rumor people made up for clicks. What happened to him was real, frightening, and still not fully explained in any official way. April 11th, 2023. Atlanta. He is working on a movie. He gets a bad headache, asks somebody for aspirin, and then everything just goes black. He does not remember the next 20 days. When he finally wakes up on May 4th, he is in a wheelchair. He cannot walk. He has no idea how he ended up there. The diagnosis was a brain bleed that led to a stroke. Emergency surgery at Piedmont Hospital saved his life. But the part people keep coming back to is this: the medical cause of that brain bleed is still officially unknown. Fox has said that himself. It is a mystery. Those are his words. That did not come from a gossip page, and it was not invented by fans online. He called it a mystery, and once he says that out loud, people are going to keep trying to fill in the blank. Now look at the power dynamic around Diddy. He was arrested in September 2024 on federal charges. He has been denied bail more than once. He is sitting in the Metropolitan Detention Center right now, waiting for a trial that is not scheduled to begin until May 2026. So while Fox is reportedly doing interviews, performing stand-up, and letting certain implications hang in the air, Diddy does not have the same freedom to respond. He cannot just call a podcaster and explain himself. He cannot sit down for a magazine profile. He cannot even put out a simple statement without lawyers picking through every word first. The public record is slowly becoming one-sided, and that alone is enough to make people uneasy. Even people who have no sympathy for Diddy are starting to ask the same thing. If he is already being forced to answer for everything else, why is he not able to answer this one claim directly? At this point, his silence does not feel neutral to a lot of people.
That one story he told, he says, look, Diddy used to put these parties together with $1 million, and he says, I'm gonna put $1 million party. I'm like, Diddy, I'm gonna do a party with $45.
And this is where Fox's side of the story gets harder for some fans to accept cleanly. The more he talks, the more people start pulling old receipts. Fox was not some outsider hearing rumors about those parties years later. He was inside. Photos, event appearances, and stories from people around the industry all place him at the same kinds of events he now appears to be backing away from. Fans have already started doing what fans do. They are posting side-by-side comparisons all over social media. Fox on stage making people wonder what he really means, next to Fox at Diddy's parties looking completely at ease. This is not just a few people whispering in some tiny corner of the internet anymore. It has become part of the broader reaction. The man who seems to be suggesting Diddy may have tried to harm him was also moving through the same culture he now seems to be criticizing. And that is a difficult position to stand in, because once you start pointing out what happened in those rooms, people are going to ask what you were doing there too. Then comes the part that makes the whole thing even shakier. Fox is reportedly speaking more openly now, but he has already denied the main accusation in a serious way. In early 2025, during a Hollywood Reporter roundtable, he looked straight at the camera and said, "Puffy didn't threaten me." That did not sound like a throwaway joke. It did not land like a comedy bit. It was a clear, direct, sober denial. So now people are trying to figure out which version they are supposed to believe. Is Fox now hinting at something he previously shut down? Or is he being misquoted and misunderstood? Again, that is where the story gets messy. Those two versions do not sit together comfortably. Either Diddy tried to hurt him, or he did not. And Fox, in public, has now been connected to both sides of that line. That is more than a messy quote. It is a real credibility problem.
Puff at the Beverly Hills Hotel filming this, and it's a pool party that is ridiculous money.
So, where did the idea even come from that Fox accused Diddy in the first place? Because this rumor did not just appear out of nowhere. For 2 years, the claim that Diddy poisoned Fox moved through social media, gossip pages, mainstream outlets, and even Joe Rogan's podcast. It caught fire because multiple eyewitnesses at Fox's own Netflix taping said they heard him say it. Choke No Joke, an audience member and videographer, went on record saying Fox stated that Diddy was responsible for what happened and that Fox himself called the FBI. Another attendee, Big Homie CC, said the same thing. These were not faceless accounts hiding behind random usernames. These were named people saying they were in the room and heard it. But that is also where the confusion turns into a mess. Other people in the very same audience said it was clearly a joke. Dennis L. White, another attendee, said Fox made it clear Diddy was not responsible and that if Diddy had really been involved, quote, "I would have been seriously injured." So, the public ended up with two totally different readings of the same night. Some people heard an accusation. Other people heard comedy. Then Fox later called it a joke while still leaving enough ambiguous material in the special that the rumor never really got a clean ending. Once a moment like that gets out, you cannot put it back in the box. And even though he seriously denied it afterward, for a lot of people, the damage had already been done. That is the bind everybody is looking at now. Diddy cannot properly defend himself from prison. Fox cannot fully clear the air without making his own history around those parties look even more complicated. The medical mystery still has no official cause attached to it, so the conspiracy theories keep going. And fans are already acting like amateur investigators, pulling up old photos, digging through event appearances, comparing timelines, and asking the question that makes this whole thing so uncomfortable. How do you accuse someone of trying to destroy you when you spent years laughing at their parties? That is not really a courtroom question. It is about whether people believe the messenger. And questions like that tend to hang around.
He said in the special that, I was hospitalized by this person. And mind you, him and Diddy have had a business falling out. They said they had a beef. So the Choke No Choke was a videographer, and he was like, yo, I was there. He said Diddy was responsible for what happened to him and that he's the one that called the FBI. And Choke added, I don't think he was...
Now pay attention to the timeline, because this is where the simple explanation starts to wobble. Jamie Foxx waited 20 months to tell his full story. 20 months. During that time, his family put out vague statements about a medical complication and said he was playing pickleball, while fans online were wondering if he would ever walk again. His first public appearance after the hospitalization came in December 2023. And even then, he did not explain what actually happened. He only said that 6 months earlier, he could not walk. That was all. The full version did not come until his Netflix special in December 2024. So people are left asking why it took that long. Why let the rumor machine run wild for almost 2 years? And why tell the story in a comedy special, where the line between a joke and a serious claim is blurry by design? Those choices matter. They make it feel less like someone simply sharing what happened, and more like someone carefully deciding how the story should be heard. The result is that Fox is stuck in a corner that is hard to get out of. If he keeps talking, the hypocrisy argument only gets louder. If he stops, that same argument just sits there unanswered. The Netflix special was supposed to give people answers, but for many viewers, it only added more confusion. The devil joke, the puffy joke, the "I left them parties early" punchline, all of it landed differently depending on who was listening. Some people heard a man telling the truth without saying it plainly. Other people heard a man making dark jokes about a friend whose life had already fallen apart. And because Diddy cannot respond from prison in the same public way, the record will always feel unfinished. That missing piece is a big reason this story keeps getting pulled back into the spotlight. So that is where things stand. Jamie Foxx is reportedly speaking openly now while Diddy sits in a cell, unable to answer in any normal public way. Fans are already calling Foxx a hypocrite. The medical cause of his stroke is still described as a mystery. And the beginning of the whole accusation, the Netflix taping, the eyewitnesses, the denial, the joke, and the confusion, is so tangled that nobody has been able to straighten it out cleanly. This story is not closed. It does not even feel close. The one thing people seem to agree on is that the imbalance between a man who can speak and a man who cannot really respond is going to keep the whole thing alive. So, what are people supposed to do with that? And who are they supposed to believe when the same man has already given them more than one version of the story?
There's an added element to this, an added element of drama. Diddy is going to speak. He has some things he wants to say to the judge, to the court, and he has actually filed a request with the judge that he can wear street clothes instead of his prison jumpsuit because he wants to look good for whatever it is he's gonna.
You want to know what else was happening while Fox was recovering? Not the medical side, the other side. The part where the federal government was building a case against Diddy that had nothing to do with Fox at all. In March 2024, agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. And what they found was shocking. More than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, 3 AR-15 rifles, and other materials that prosecutors say painted a very specific picture of what was happening behind closed doors. That raid happened 7 full months before Fox's Netflix special came out. 7 months. So when Fox finally got on that stage in Atlanta, he already knew what the government said it had uncovered. He knew the world had seen the 2016 hotel surveillance footage of Diddy. He knew the public had already turned on him. And he still chose to shape his big comeback as a comedy bit instead of a serious statement. That does not feel random. It feels deliberate. Now pay close attention to the timing. Diddy was arrested in September 2024. He was denied bail, denied again, and then denied a third time. The judge said no condition or combination of conditions would reasonably assure the safety of the community. For a federal judge to say that about a music mogul is a big deal. And every time Diddy lost another bail hearing, Fox had a little more room to make those jokes. Before the arrest, Fox said very little publicly about his health or Diddy. After the arrest, suddenly there was a comedy special, a Hollywood Reporter interview, and a string of public appearances where he talked around the edges of it. You do not have to believe Diddy is innocent to see how much the power dynamic changed once he was locked up. The timing is messy. It looks like Fox waited until the other guy was in a cell before he finally started talking.
Jamie Foxx addresses whether Diddy was responsible for his 2023 hospitalization during live shows
But the story goes back even further, and it gets darker. While everybody was focused on Fox and Diddy, another name kept coming up in the background. Kim Porter. She was Diddy's longtime partner and the mother of 3 of his children. She passed away in 2018. Then, in late 2024, a book showed up claiming to be her memoir, making explosive claims about Diddy's behavior. His children immediately called it fake. They said their mother did not write it. They begged the public to stop spreading what they called horrific conspiracy theories about her passing. And they said clearly that the cause had already been established as natural. No foul play. But once conspiracy theories start moving, they do not usually stop just because the family asks them to. They spread even faster when the people around Diddy seem to get quieter instead of louder. And that silence has become one of the strangest parts of the whole story. It is not only Diddy's family. Look at the other names: Usher, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Jay-Z, all photographed at Diddy's events over the years. All asked, in one way or another, what they knew and when they knew it. And what have they said publicly? Almost nothing. Jay-Z was added to a civil lawsuit late last year, an allegation his team called blackmail. Diddy's own lawyers called it a publicity stunt. But what is missing from so many of these celebrities is a clear, early public denial. Not a careful statement through a publicist. Not some vague version of, "we had no idea." Just direct answers. And when that many people avoid the same question, people start treating the avoidance like its own kind of answer. Whatever was happening at those parties does not seem to have been a total mystery to the people who kept showing up, Fox included.
Was, Your Honor, I will accept the Mann Act, but I feel like I was targeted by a weaponized Justice Department, and I now understand what President Trump was saying when he said that happened to him, because we have similar things that happen, and I appreciate what he was saying now. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now.
That's real simple for you to stand here and say.
Now bring in the insider layer, because this is where the source material gets more specific. A former Bad Boy employee, speaking anonymously because he said he feared retaliation, told documentary producers something deeply uncomfortable. He said there was not a Diddy party that did not eventually turn into something else. He described red lighting in the studio as a sign of a certain kind of atmosphere. He said he was asked to recruit young women from local bars, and he claimed Diddy would disappear into a room for 24 hours at a time with people who may not have been old enough to be there. These are claims. They have not been proven in court. But they were documented in a Peacock documentary and attributed to someone who worked inside the organization. That kind of insider chatter usually does not come from nowhere. It comes from a world that, according to people who describe it, was not as hidden as everyone wanted it to be. So where does that leave Fox? It changes the way people look at him in the story. The main issue is not only whether Diddy poisoned him. Fox has already denied that in a serious setting. The harder issue is what Fox saw, what he knew, and why he is acting like he was only passing through. Because if the parties were anything like some witnesses have described, then Fox was not simply an innocent guest wandering into the wrong room. He was part of a culture that multiple people have now described as coercive and controlling. And that changes how people hear everything he has said since his recovery. He is not only being viewed as a possible victim. He is also being viewed as a possible witness who stayed quiet for years until the other man was behind bars. That does not look like simple survival. It looks a lot more calculated.
The feeling that I have about the documentary, man, it was just old news, and they took a couple of with the footage from Puff from the days that's leading up him to get arrested, and the incidents with the people from the courts, you know, the two people from the courts. So it was not.
Now add what Diddy's own mother said. In her first public statement after his arrest, she wrote that her son is not the monster people have painted him to be. She acknowledged that he has made mistakes and that he was not entirely truthful about the Cassie Ventura allegations at first. But she also said watching what is happening felt like a public lynching before he had a chance to prove his innocence. That is a mother defending her son. You would expect that. But the part you cannot ignore is that she admitted he was not fully truthful. Even his own mother said he hid things. So when Fox says he left the parties early, when he says he was out by 9 o'clock, when he makes the joke about things looking slippery, he is asking people to believe he was somehow the one person in that world who saw nothing, heard nothing, and always left before anything happened. Given what is now being said about that world, that is a tough sell. The hotel surveillance video from 2016 is the reason so much of this broke open. You cannot really talk your way around footage of a man kicking a woman and dragging her by the back of her neck in a hotel hallway. That video moved the conversation into a different place. It took something people had heard about and turned it into something they could see. And that is also why anyone who was at those parties, smiling in photographs and accepting invitations year after year, now gets looked at differently. Foxx does not have to be accused of anything directly for people to start connecting him to the environment. The photographs matter. The attendance records matter. The timing of his silence and then his sudden openness matters. Put it all together, and it creates a picture that is hard to brush off.
He broke Kim, let's say allegedly, but it was told by people in her camp that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht. So Cassie's story is Kim's story. Cassie's book is Kim's book.
And still, Foxx keeps performing. The Netflix special was supposed to be the moment where everything finally made sense. Instead, it gave people even more to argue about. The line everyone still talks about, "I thought I saw the devil," or "Was that Puffy?" is not exactly a denial. It is a wink. It is a comedian leaving the door cracked just enough for the audience to wonder what he really means. And Foxx knew what he was doing. He has been in entertainment long enough to understand how people read a line like that. You cannot say, "Puffy didn't try to harm me," in a serious interview, and then go on stage asking whether the devil was actually Diddy without people noticing the gap. It does not play like simple confusion. It plays like a performance that keeps the audience guessing. And as long as people are guessing, the story keeps breathing. So let us come back to the core of it. With all of that in mind, the question is not only whether Diddy tried to harm Foxx. Foxx has denied that rumor. The harder question is why Foxx let it live for so long. Why he leaned into the ambiguity instead of shutting it down with one clear statement. Why he waited until Diddy was in a cell before he really started talking. And why, even now, he has not sat down and said plainly, "Here is exactly what I know, and here is exactly when I knew it." The refusal to be direct is what people keep noticing. It makes it look like full clarity might create more problems for Foxx than the rumor itself. And that says a lot, even if he never says it outright.
And so what I want to say to Justin Bieber and to everybody that's following the situation is that Justin Bieber is a victim. I was horrified when I saw this, not because of the idea that Justin Bieber would be engaged in these sorts of things at these parties, but because I understood that this was a kid who was intentionally targeted by Diddy, as the videos show.
Now the story is bigger than one man, or even two men. It has become about a whole circle of silence, participation, and extremely convenient timing. Foxx is trapped in a position that does not give him an easy way out. If he keeps talking, the hypocrisy argument gets louder. If he stops, that same argument just sits there unanswered. Fans are still digging. Other celebrities are still being named. The medical mystery still has no clear resolution. And Diddy is still sitting in prison, unable to speak in his own defense the way a free person could. The imbalance that made this story so gripping in the beginning is now the same thing keeping it alive. One side can talk. The other side cannot really answer. That does not feel like closure. It feels like something that is going to stay open. So where does that leave everyone watching from the outside? At some point, you have to decide whose silence bothers you more. The man in prison who literally cannot speak freely, the man on stage who keeps talking without being fully clear, or the crowd of celebrities who are in those rooms and have said almost nothing at all. This story is not going to end neatly. It is going to keep unraveling every time someone finds an old photograph, every time another document surfaces, and every time Foxx says something that can be heard two different ways. Drop your take in the comments, and do not hold your breath waiting for one clean answer. It does not look like clarity is coming anytime soon.